BioShock, premier du nom, nous a tous marqués par la richesse et l'originalité de son univers qui lui ont permis de transcender le genre FPS pour lui octroyer une nouvelle dimension plus mature, plus exigeante. Développé par Irrational Games à Boston, ce studio fondé en 1997 par d'anciens membres de Looking Glass a toujours été féru d'univers forts. Leur premier jeu est ainsi le mythique System Shock 2, créé par Ken Levine. La production de BioShock Infinite a commencé une fois BioShock 1 terminé, soit en 2008, sa suite ayant été développée par un autre studio, 2K Marine. You can picture happy gatherings. Pour nous parler du jeu, que nous avons pu prendre en main pendant quelques heures, nous sommes allés à la rencontre de Bill Gardner, dont le poste est pour le moins particulier. Il est en effet spécialiste de l'expérience utilisateur. Tearful partings.
So what that means is I'm the guy who plays the role of the gamer. I'm the guy who plays the game and tries to find issues and find issues that the player and the end user are going to have and anticipate what's going to be confusing or what could be better. And then I put together presentations and suggestions for Ken and for Rod to hopefully improve the game.
In the sky, in the sky. Bill n'est pas un débutant. Il a commencé dans le département assurance qualité avant de passer au level design pour finalement obtenir le poste de lead level designer sur BioShock premier du nom. L'une des particularités de la licence BioShock est de proposer ce que l'on pourrait appeler une histoire ouverte. À la manière d'un monde ouvert où le joueur est libre de ses choix, le background scénaristique de BioShock Infinite laisse au joueur l'opportunité de décider jusqu'à quel point il souhaite s'investir dans l'histoire pour en obtenir toutes les clés.
You know, BioShock Infinite is a very deep game. There's a lot of complexity, there's a lot of detail, and I think one of the things that makes that really sets BioShock Infinite apart is that we let the player sort of determine how much information he wants. We don't shove cutscenes in front of your face, and you know we try and minimize the amount of sort of captive audience situations that we put him in.
On a ainsi les kinétoscopes qui permettent de voir des films d'archives ou de propagande sur l'histoire de Columbia, mais aussi les voxaphones qui fonctionnent comme des journaux intimes audio similaires aux enregistrements de BioShock 1, sans oublier les affiches ainsi que les habitants de Columbia eux-mêmes dont on peut saisir des bribes de conversation.
Whether they be enemy or friend.
So you have all these different channels of getting information across, and then there's you know, Elizabeth and Booker conversations and conversations that Booker has with people in the world, and you know, again, there's all these different avenues of communicating the information that we need to get across, and it's a tricky balancing act to know exactly what information you need to get across early on. You know, you think, oh, the player needs to know about Comstock right away, and it's like, well, we can probably wait maybe till midway through the first level, and it's much more important to get, you know, details of Booker's backstory up front, and then like seed in details about Elizabeth and how she's the lamb and she's being kept in this tower, and again, you think about the vast amount of information we get across in the first 15 minutes of BioShock, and it's just like constantly coming at you. I would wager that the amount of information is in that first 15 minutes or that first level is more than the entire BioShock 1.
Expliquer aux joueurs de façon non intrusive l'histoire de Columbia a donc été affaire d'itération. Le feedback de Bill a également joué, tout comme celui de gens extérieurs au studio lorsque cela était possible. Mais au final, les décisions revenaient à Ken Levine, qui a toujours affiché un savoir-faire certain pour déterminer le rythme du flux d'informations à faire passer aux joueurs. Un travail d'autant plus essentiel que les thématiques abordées par BioShock Infinite n'ont rien de légère. Politique, religion, société, le jeu, situé en 1912 dans une cité utopique, rappelons-le, ne donne pas dans la facilité.
There's always a very fine line you have to walk when you take on the kind of issues that we do, the issues of racism, and certainly a lot of them are controversial, and they're often difficult to watch to some extent. You know, you think about the raffle scene that you saw, you know, it's like you start off in this gorgeous, idyllic vision of America, and it's like this blue sky, and everyone's happy and neighborly, and you make your way through the city, and then you come to this raffle, and it's like, okay, this seems cheery enough. What's going on here? And you draw your baseball, and then the MC comes out, and he says, "Oh, isn't that the prettiest young white girl in all of America?" And you're like, "Wait, what?" And then all of a sudden they peel back the curtains, and you realize it's stoning. You're like, oh. You know, and again, we you know, Irrational and Ken is really interested in putting you in the situation and in the world that's true to the time period. You know, we're not interested in being sensational. It's more about, again, telling that story in a true fashion and putting the player in the shoes of someone who's caught in the middle of these extremes. And to know where that line is very difficult. I think a lot of it is gut. I mean, Ken is really good, again, about knowing where that line is and where, you know, you have to push things. You have to make a statement.
Définir le rôle de Zachary Hale Comstock, le chef spirituel et ultranationaliste de Columbia, a ici été primordial afin de bien mettre en évidence l'impact de son discours et de sa personnalité sur le peuple. Columbia, sous ses airs d'utopie paradisiaque coupée du monde, est en fait soumise à un régime totalitaire basé sur le culte de la personnalité du père Comstock, autoproclamé prophète. On commence ainsi l'aventure en étant baptisé de force par les disciples du leader. BioShock Infinite, tout en travaillant une jouabilité et des thématiques similaires à celles de BioShock 1, propose ainsi un tout nouvel univers. Mais créer ce dernier tout en restant fidèle à l'identité de la série n'a pas été facile.
In order to make the game feel like a BioShock game, you have to have a certain feeling, you have to have a certain sense of mystery, a certain sense of like what's around the next corner. In a lot of ways, Rapture and Columbia are, you know, characters, right? They tell a very deep and complex story, and the player is exploring those worlds, looking for more details into what happened. And I think that it was tremendously challenging for us to find the right balance to make the game feel the same but different. And you know, we looked very closely at BioShock 1 after we finished it, and you know, spent a lot of time studying what makes a BioShock game a BioShock game. And it really, what it came down to is, it's not about rapture, it's not about objectivism, it's again about that feeling, that mystery, that awe when you feel when you step off of the bathysphere for the first time, or as you approach Rapture for the first time, you say like, oh my God, this place is amazing, but you know, something's not quite right.
Cette sensation est en effet bien présente, et ce, dès les premières minutes de jeu. On est rapidement amené à s'interroger sur le vrai visage de Comstock et de Columbia, derrière les illusions et la propagande. Mais la cité elle-même et les hommes qui la régissent ne sont pas les seuls personnages du jeu. Au cœur de BioShock Infinite, on trouve bien sûr Booker DeWitt, un type lessivé, ancien agent en disgrâce de l'agence Pinkerton, chargé par de mystérieux commanditaires de ramener une certaine Elizabeth à New York.
When Elizabeth first meets Booker, there's obviously that sense of distrust. You know, again, she's been essentially in this petri dish her whole life. You know, she's been observed, and then she gets out, and you know, it's like, why would you trust anyone? You realize that you've been observed your whole life, and your whole life essentially is a sham, right? Like it's all been staged. And so the hurt that you feel and the way that you want to lash out and like, you know, find out who's responsible and all the questions and all the things that are rattling around in your mind, you know, put yourself in her shoes. And Booker's a no-nonsense kind of guy. He just wants to get the job done, right? He's been hired for a job, he's going to see it through, he's a guy who gets things done, right? And so he has this girl who's, you know, causing all these wrinkles, you know. She just wants to go off and explore, and she wants to, you know, experience Columbia. You know, her ultimate goal is to eventually get to Paris. That's all she wants in life, is get to Paris. And Booker, you know, needs to take her to New York and get, you know, finish his job and be done with her.
Finalement, ces deux personnages que tout semble opposer se rapprocheront par la force des choses, comme dans un buddy movie des années 80. On retrouve en effet la confrontation classique du vieux loup blasé et du jeune agneau innocent, mais avec un sérieux twist. L'agneau s'avère doté de pouvoirs surnaturels, tandis que le vieux loup semble impliqué bien plus qu'il ne le pensait. Cette relation entre Booker et Elizabeth est l'un des moteurs du jeu, mais la définir fut difficile pour l'équipe. Avec Elizabeth, un personnage contrôlé par l'IA, Irrational Games devait faire un sans faute, sinon le jeu lui-même était voué à l'échec.
For the longest time, you know, Elizabeth just wasn't working, right? I mean, you think about the amount of work that goes into creating a character that you're gonna fall in love with, a character that you're gonna believe and empathize with. I would say, for me, just to give you a sense for how far we've come, you know, at one point Liz wasn't going to talk. She was actually going to be mute, and there were a million reasons for that. And for the longest time, you know, that was, it wasn't actually that long. It was, you know, again, BioShock Infinite was a very, very long development. We were lucky enough to have the time to really develop the world the way that we needed to. But with Elizabeth, she for a long time she didn't speak, and eventually it was like, wait, what are we doing? So we made that change, and all of a sudden it opened up all these opportunities for you to again, interact with her. For Booker to find ways to interact and to gel and to bond with her.
Durant le jeu, Elisabeth peut aider le joueur en lui ouvrant des portes, à la manière de Yorda, celle-ci ayant appris à crocheter les serrures durant sa captivité. Elle peut aussi lui prêter de l'argent pour s'acheter des upgrades, lui envoyer des munitions en plein combat, ou carrément exploiter les failles spatio-temporelles qu'elle seule semble à même de voir et de manipuler. Mais tout a un prix. Un autre point différenciant Infinite de BioShock 1 est la présence de Skylines, ce réseau de rails aériens auquel le joueur peut s'agripper pour glisser à toute vitesse à travers la cité.
Getting the Skylines right was a tremendous challenge. You think about putting a roller coaster in a city. I mean, that alone is like, that's crazy, right? So we spent a lot of time researching roller coasters, and we actually at one point went to a theme park and rode on some, and took some pictures and some video and things like that. In a lot of ways, you think about roller coasters, they're sort of a natural tension builder. You're riding it, it's like, oh, we're about to, you're riding around at super, 80 miles an hour, super speed. I think about that feeling of exhilaration. It lends itself very nicely to a video game. But to get that right, there's two elements really. There's one, you have to make it believable. We try our best to make sure that every part of a BioShock experience makes sense. And so part of that is making sure that it's grounded. You take the elements of the skyline and you make sure that it's grounded to the buildings and to the streets, and they have all kinds of different architectural elements that will help tie them to the environment. But on top of that, obviously, it's about balancing the fun with that believability.
Et c'est le cas. Les sensations offertes sont celles d'un grand 8. Elles servent aussi en combat en permettant aux joueurs de tourner autour des ennemis, nettement plus nombreux dans Infinite que dans BioShock 1, ou de les attaquer au corps à corps. Il est même possible de faire demi-tour ou de se décrocher en un éclair pour aller exploser d'un coup d'un seul un ennemi au sol. Ce moyen de déplacement est parfaitement adapté à l'environnement aérien du jeu, qui n'a plus rien à voir avec les espaces confinés de Rapture. Tout comme le système de combat qui met à profit diverses armes, dont un fusil sniper ainsi que des pouvoirs obtenus grâce à des fioles, les Vigor. Celles-ci peuvent être combinées et disposent chacune d'un usage secondaire, permettant de poser des pièges ou de lancer des attaques chargées, adaptées au plus grand nombre d'ennemis croisés. Il y a tellement de choses à dire sur le jeu que c'en est frustrant. Il va décidément être bien difficile d'attendre la fin du mois de mars.
We are free in the land of America. We ain't going down like this. Come on now.